where is my jetpack? You know, back when I was growing up, I'm actually approaching my 50th year next year. I know I'm a bit younger than a number of you all, but growing up in the 70s, I learned to really love and embrace science fiction and anything related to space, especially since I lived in Miami, so not too far away from where the whole space program is going on. Still remember seeing some of the Apollo moon shots and the shuttle going up and a lot of those kind of things. But I always loved science fiction and just thinking about the future. Now, of course, I came of age during the time of watching Star Trek reruns, also Star Wars, which basically changed my life. I was 10 when that came out, and I loved it. But the thing I always loved thinking about was, what was the near future gonna be? And it's 2016 now. I'm thinking back to when I was like maybe 10 years old in 1977, and Evelyn, where's my jetpack? I mean, you know, I kept thinking that eventually the cities were gonna be looking like this, you know, moon cities and moon vehicles and all sorts of other interesting things. Although wristwatch TV, that's not too far. That's actually coming about right now. So okay, maybe a few things.
Oh yeah.
David, why don't I see cities like this with this like starship? You know, I mean, look at this. I mean, I was thinking by 2016 in the 21st century, I thought for sure this is going to be an everyday occurrence. But where is it? Where is it? And in space, they kept saying, wow, we're gonna have these just amazing colonies. And again, as a kid, I used to like love poring over these pictures. I remember one particular book, and I tried to find pictures from it, but it was a very famous artist, very famous sci-fi artist, where he like made all these like pictures of cities and cars and the way people were gonna dress. And it was just so fascinating. It was like in 21st century America. And yet, what I'm wearing right now, I could probably go back 40 years and I wouldn't look like an alien, or look like something that was from the future. So why don't I see this, Michael? I mean, I know we have the International Space Station, but the International Space Station will probably be about that small. But man, this is really, really cool. But this is the future that I envisioned and I kept thinking was eventually going to happen. Now I'm going to give you a couple of examples from the media from back when I was in the 70s growing up, and things that I just kept thinking, wow, this is really going to happen. This is going to happen in my lifetime. First one, I don't know if anyone's familiar with it, Space 1999. Now we're like, 17 years past 1999? And if you don't know what the premise is, there's a base on the moon and there's ships like, here, I'll show you one of the ships. They travel in ships like this. I think this one's called Eagle One. I used to watch this show religiously, even had a model of this. But I kept thinking, wow, 1999 is gonna just be so cool. We're gonna be traveling on the moon, we're gonna be flying over the surface and doing all this stuff. And then it got to be 1999, and we're nowhere near that. So, Pat, what happened? Why am I not flying around in those things? Next one.
Oh, yeah.
I think most everyone knows, or hopefully you've seen this. This is a classic. It's not a Star Wars movie. It's not a movie with aliens and shoot 'em up and explosions and everything. It's a very cerebral movie. It's one of my favorites, although it is a very slow movie, interesting movie. But 2001: A Space Odyssey, I mean, 15 years ago, and I thought we were going to be traveling to Jupiter and these large starships and having all these, well, I mean, they did have to feature computers that were talking, so I guess it's kind of close, but nowhere near what they talked about in 2001. And then the author, Arthur C. Clarke, actually wrote a sequel, 2010, and it was actually made into a movie as well. Same kind of thing, but again, we're, 6 years past 2010, and I mean, Paul, what happened? Did I miss all this, or, I don't know. I keep scratching my head thinking about when I was a kid. Now, this book, amazingly enough, I found it in a used bookstore, and I used to own it. I owned it when I was a kid. My son and I, this last summer, when we were up at a used bookstore called McKay's, we're going through a bunch of stuff, and I found this. I was like, man, I used to own this. And then I looked at the title, Spacecraft 2000 to 2100. So we're already 16 years into 2000, and man, none of these in here, happened. But here's what's funny, is I actually remembered, it had key historical dates. And if you probably can't read these, but I'll just read a couple of the more interesting ones. There's ones that started in 1987 and go to like 1999. They're kind of boring, like 1999, World Trade Authority formed to coordinate international commerce. Ooh, great. But then we get really interesting, because then we go into space. So 2004, the first space freighter, Colonial 1, enters service. 2005, work starts on lunar station. 2011, lunar station operational. 2012, work starts on Mars station. And then 2014, introduction of the McKinley Ion Ultra Drive. And then 2015, the Martian Queen makes first commercial passenger flight to Mars. Now, Armando, did I miss something? I mean, did I fall asleep and this all happened while I was asleep? All right, last one. If you haven't seen this, this is a classic. Blade Runner, Harrison Ford, 1982, awesome movie. And it's a great film. In fact, they're making a sequel. It's coming out next year. But at the very beginning, it shows this. So this kind of gives me a little bit of hope. Los Angeles, November 2019. So 3 years from now. And I keep thinking, well, okay, so maybe LA, this is current day LA, by the way. Maybe LA could go from this to this in 3 years, don't you think? I mean, if everyone were to pull together and just build and then mess up the environment, because that's one of the things in there is the environment's all messed up, it rains all the time. You have flying cars and all this kind of stuff. Maybe, just maybe, this could come to fruition, but you got 3 years to do it. So again, Barbara and Barbara, where is my jetpack?